or not to be? That is the question.
Where was God? Isn't God supposed to be good? Isn't he supposed to love us? And does God want us to suffer?
10 years, you're not finished yet? Morty! Why did you do this to me?
Who are you?
Bruce? I'm God.
Bingo! Yahtzee! Is that your final answer? Our survey says God! Bing, 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 bing. Well, it was nice to meet you, God. Thank you for the Grand Canyon, and good luck with the apocalypse.
Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here, the Ultimate Issues Hour. This is the hour of the week, third hour on Tuesday, that I talk about an ultimate issue. My analogy is to a map. Not knowing ultimate issues, not having them clear, is like having no destination but having a map. So you know exactly where you are, but you have no idea where you should go. So should I go north, south, east, or west? Well, it doesn't matter because I don't know whether I should go north, south, east, or west. These are the great issues of life, and that's what this hour is about, the Ultimate Issues Hour. Thank you for being with me. Today's subject is one I have discussed in the past. In fact, in its various permutations, it's the issue for me. And the consequences of the death of God are essentially is the issue. This particular issue today is if there is no God, murder is not wrong. And it's my video up at Prager University this week. And you need to see it, and you need to show it to your children and discuss it. I will play it for you because it is so clear. The amount of work that I put into this was so extensive because of the clarity. I know every objection. I've talked about this my whole life, so I know every single objection. And I deal with every objection to what I'm saying in the video. So that is why I found the 6,000 comments on YouTube in one day. One day, there's 6,000 comments on YouTube. And about half are negative, but I want to read to you some of the half that are negative to show you the non-clarity. The issue is not agreement or disagreement. The issue is the non-clarity of of opposing thinking. But my issue has been that the collapse of God and the Judeo-Christian values emanating from belief in God in America is something that America cannot survive. And I say this to secular conservatives as much as I say this to people on the left. This country was founded dependent upon universal or nearly universal understanding that good and evil emanate, a standard for good and evil, and the actual existence of them emanate from God's existence. That is why In God We Trust has so long been one of the mottos of the United States. But for secular conservatives, as much as for secular people on the left, it is irrelevant. The secular conservative may have more respect for it historically, but it does not have respect for it contemporaneously. We don't need God. And I'm not talking about God as an emotional crutch, etc., etc. Nothing. I'm just talking about intellectually, morally. People think we don't need God. This is one of the earliest realizations of my life, that if there isn't a God, there is no objective morality. Doesn't prove there is a God. I think it ultimately is one of the great arguments for God, but there is no proof of God. So there's overwhelming evidence, but there isn't proof. That's not my argument that therefore there is a God. My argument is so simple and that it seems to fly above people who have had a college education. If there isn't a God who is the source of right and wrong are a matter of opinion. That's it. So listen. I'd like you to listen because I can't say it any clearer than I do in the video. Here it goes. Do you believe that good and evil exist? The answer to this question separates Judeo-Christian values from secular values.
Let me offer the clearest possible example. Murder. Is murder wrong? Is it evil? Nearly everyone would answer yes, but now I will pose a much harder question. How do you know? I'm sure you think murder is wrong, but how do you know? If I asked you how you know that the earth is round, you would show me photographs from outer space or offer me measurable data. But what photographs could you show? What measurements could you provide that prove that murder or rape or theft is wrong? The fact is, you can't. There are scientific facts, but without God, there are no moral facts. In a secular world, there can only be opinions about morality. They may be personal opinions or society's opinions, but only opinions. Every atheist philosopher I have read or debated on this subject has acknowledged that if there is no God, there is no objective morality. Judeo-Christian values are predicated on the existence of a God of morality. In other words, only if there is a God who says murder is murder wrong. Otherwise, all morality is opinion. The entire Western world, what we call Western civilization, is based on this understanding. Now, let me make two things clear. First, this doesn't mean that if you don't believe in God, you can't be a good person. There are plenty of kind and moral individuals who don't believe in God and Judeo-Christian values. But the existence of these good people has nothing to do with the question of whether good and evil really exist if there is no God. Second, there have been plenty of people who believed in God who were not good people. Indeed, more than a few have been evil and have even committed evil in God's name. The existence of God doesn't ensure people will do good. I wish it did. The existence of God only ensures that good and evil objectively exist and are not merely opinions. Without God, we therefore end up with what is known as moral relativism, meaning that morality is not absolute, but only relative to the individual or to the society. Without God, the words good and evil are just another way of saying I like and I don't like. If there is no God, the statement murder is evil is the same as the statement I don't like murder. Now, many will argue that you don't need moral absolutes. People won't murder because they don't want to be murdered. But that argument is just wishful thinking. Hitler, Stalin, and Mao didn't want to be murdered, but that hardly stopped them from murdering about 100 million people. It is not a coincidence that the rejection of Judeo-Christian values in the Western world by Nazism and communism led to the murder of all these innocent people. It is also not a coincidence that the first societies in the world to abolish slavery, an institution that existed in every known society in human history, were Western societies rooted in Judeo-Christian values. And so were the first societies to affirm universal human rights, to emancipate women, and to proclaim the value of liberty. Today, the rejection of Judeo-Christian values and moral absolutes has led to a world of moral confusion. In the New York Times in March 2015, a professor of philosophy confirmed this. He wrote, "What would you say if you found out that our public schools were teaching children that it is not true that it's wrong to kill people for fun? Would you be surprised? I was." The professor then added, "The overwhelming majority of college freshmen view moral claims as mere opinions." So then, whatever you believe about God or religion, here is a fact. Without a God who is the source of morality, morality is just a matter of opinion. So, if you want a good world, the death of Judeo-Christian values should frighten you. I'm Dennis Prager.
Yep, and I remain Dennis Prager, and I'll take your calls. 1-8-PRAGER, Whatever your opinion, you're duty bound to watch it, or especially to show it to your kids. If nothing else, just to see, can they think logically? Because there's no theology here. It's just logic. Most Americans do not understand the consequences of the death of God-based morality in the United States. 1-8-PRAGER-776 is the number, the Ultimate Issues Hour on the Dennis Prager Show. Hi, everybody. If you care about civilization, if you care about right and wrong, human suffering, good and evil, the latest video from Prager University is my own. Most of the time, I am not the deliverer. In this case, I am. And it is, if there is no God, murder is not wrong. A lifetime of thought compressed into 5 minutes. What you should also do if you care about the stuff is go on YouTube or Facebook and see reactions to it. And it's the lack of clarity of thought. I'm going to give you some examples in a moment, but I want to take some calls. But this is what an atheist or an agnostic should answer. This is true. Unfortunately, however, I don't believe in God. So therefore, I acknowledge that I cannot say murder is wrong. I can only say, in my opinion, murder is wrong. That would be an honest answer. But people don't want to confront things honestly. So they come out with other stuff here. So, for example, let's see here. I really hear, this is from Captain Cook 31. I really despise this argument because it's so irrelevant. God is a subjective concept, just as all the other concepts are. Morality indeed is a matter of opinion and the philosophy of ethics, and as long as you can't prove that the Bible or even the notion of God is truly from God and not a man-made spook, it's also nothing else than an opinion. Okay, so he despises the argument. I don't know why he says it's irrelevant, because I don't know what is irrelevant. But in any event, here is this person's argument, that God is subjective too. Therefore, how can you argue that there's an objective morality if it's based on a subjective being? But that doesn't answer my question. The whole point is, if there is no God, then morality is not wrong. Then murder is not wrong. The whole thing is predicated on an if. If there is a God, God is objectively existent. That's what it means, if there is a God. Then, if this God says murder is wrong, then there is a transcendent basis for the claim that murder is wrong. Here's another one, typical. All right? I believe morals were developed through evolution, so we don't end up killing or wronging one another, so we can advance as a singular species. Didn't seem to work throughout human history, did it? Since the vast amount of murder that has taken place, I guess evolution didn't do a good job, did it? By the way, it doesn't mean that religion has always done a good job either, but that's only because it didn't persuade people. Evolution is not a matter of persuasion. Here's another one. This is a specious argument. Murder, theft, lying, etc. were considered wrong long before there were religions that said so. It didn't take belief in a supreme being to know that these things were wrong. Well, actually, it does take belief to know that they're wrong. It doesn't take belief to have an opinion that they're wrong. That's my whole point. It's all a matter of opinion. All right, let's see here. Let's go to Amir in Los Angeles. Hello, Amir. Dennis Prager.
Hi, Dennis. How are you? Thank you for this opportunity. I have a quick question, not a debate, more of a clarification. So I am born and raised Jewish in Israel, and my life was led according to what feels right and wrong, even though I studied, obviously, the Torah, the Old Testament. I don't commit a crime or think about a crime, not because it was dictated in the Bible, but more so because it feels wrong.
I have no problem with that. I believe every word you said, but it has nothing to do with what my video is about. My video says that if there is no God, morality is a matter of opinion, or if you will, a feeling. You are actually giving an argument on behalf of my video. The reason that you don't murder is that you feel it's wrong. I thank God,
Correct.
or I'm using that hyperbolically or not, metaphorically. I thank God that you feel murder is wrong. I'm thrilled that you do. I wish everybody did, for that matter. But you are acknowledging it's a feeling.
I see.
Okay?
But can the feeling be translated as moral values?
Yes, they are translated as moral values, but they're still based on feelings.
Based on opinion.
Yes.
Okay. Well.
Okay. You're welcome. He is my favorite caller. This is the perfect caller. He actually listened and said, "Oh, okay, that answers my question." My argument is, and I make it clear in the video, I don't argue you can't be good if you don't believe in God, or that you're necessarily good if you do believe in God. The opposite. I fully acknowledge there are good people who don't believe and there are bad people who do believe. But it has nothing to do with my argument. The argument is just one, and it is narrow, but it is, of course, of overwhelming significance. Only if there is a God is there objective morality. That's all. Otherwise, all of it is feeling and opinion. We have now reached in America the age of how do you feel about it. Kids are not told right and wrong. That's one of the consequences. Kids are told, how do you feel about it? But that's pretty weak given human nature, because the ability of humans to justify what is wrong on the basis of feelings, that's what every criminal does. They don't walk around thinking they're wrong. They have figured out a way to justify it. In fact, we have a word for using reason to justify what is wrong. It's called rationalization. Right? We all do that. You have to fight it. Okay, Steve in Los Angeles. Dennis Prager, hi.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to admit this, but I think it's circular. It's good to believe in God, because then if you believe in God, it's good. There's good. So you really have to assume goodness to believe in God, which establishes goodness.
No, you have to assume that God is the author of right and wrong.
God. But your whole issue to bringing up God is for goodness. So you have to assume goodness in order to assume God.
No, I have to assume
God. Why make an argument for God then?
That's a separate issue, though. I make that clear. I'm not letting you go. If you want to stay on, you can. We got to take a break. I admit there is an if here. If there is a God, I fully admit that. That's a leap of faith that I have made, that there is a God, but only then do I have objective morality. Maybe I'll do a video on just the objections that are on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know if it'll help any of these people, but some people might be impressed with the lack of logic in these objections. This is the Ultimate Issues Hour on the Dennis Prager Show, the third hour every Tuesday devoted to some great issue. The great issue today is if there is no God, murder is not wrong. And by the way, as I note in the video, every atheist I have ever debated and every atheist I have ever read, I'm talking about philosophers, has acknowledged if there's no God, ethics are subjective or opinion. How do you know murder is wrong? I mean, it's as simple as that. How do you know? I know how you feel it. I know how you emote it. I know how you opine it. How do you know it? You don't know it. You know 2 and 2 is 4, but you don't know that murder is wrong. You can't know it. Only if there is a God, a transcendent being that is moral and tells you what is moral, or says that there is good and evil, then there is. That's it. Now, I can't prove that this being exists, and that wasn't the intent of the video. But if the being exists, if a good transcendent God exists and says murder is wrong, then murder is wrong. So people then say, well, but other gods say that murder is right. I know. Well, I have a lot of answers to that. One of them is that I have to use the guidelines that the same God that I'm listening to offers me. That's why I'm a big fan of the Ten Commandments. The author of the Ten Commandments, whoever it would be, does not believe that murder is right. So it comports as well with reason. I don't believe that religion should be devoid of reason. You need both. I think you need faith and reason. Here's another objection on the internet. How does a dominant wolf know not to kill a wolf who submitted to him and lay on his back with his neck exposed? Simple. It's counterproductive when your sole purpose as a species is to grow and prosper. There are ethics and values that are ingrained in us. If the wolves didn't need a book to know that the pack is more important than a petty power struggle, we know enough not to kill. Shove that and then S-word argument up your, and the other word for buttocks. It's a fitting conclusion to his point. The point is specious. Why are so many of those who differ with us vulgar? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Do the people who make, if somebody made the opposite argument and religious people argued on the internet, would they say that? Shove that S word argument up your butt without that word. Anyway, think about this. Wolves know it's wrong to kill, therefore it's ingrained. Isn't that amazing? I'm sure he went to college. That's all I can say. All right, let's go to more of your calls here. And Orange County. Oh, it's California Day here. Paul in Orange County. Dennis Prager, hi.
Yes, hello. Thanks for taking the call. Hey, just a quick little addition there. Gorillas don't know that. Gorillas attack and kill for no apparent reason whatsoever. So nature does not give us this perfect model of morality. But aside from that, my main point was that I'll tell you, it sort of piggybacks on what you're saying. I have blogged people out there on this subject as nice as could be, and I've gotten the worst language back. But the point I'm making to them is your logic and reason. Their claim is logic and reason can build a better society, a better humanity.
Yeah, and without God.
Without God.
Yes, I know that. I know. I'll respond to that as soon as we return. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager, the Ultimate Issues Hour, third hour every Tuesday. If there is no God, murder isn't wrong. It's the video up this week at PragerU. That's why it's today's topic. I have covered it in the past. It can't actually be covered too often because we're just losing in Western society this understanding that was so logically and theologically based. So now it's all opinion. So my last caller asked, well, why, there are people who say all you need is logic and reason. You'll come up with morality. First of all, even if you did, and you don't, but let's say you did, it's not compelling. God saying do not murder is not quite the same as saying logic and reason say do not murder. Anyway, logic and reason don't say do not murder. Logic and reason say do whatever you do, get away with it. That's what logic and reason say. Do whatever you can to enjoy life more. And if that includes embezzling funds that you know you won't get caught having done, then embezzle funds. People don't understand that logic and reason are amoral. Logic can argue for immorality just as it can for morality. There are completely rational reasons to be bad. And there are often completely rational reasons to be good. So which rationality will you use? I've often noted this, and it's so clear to me. I don't know why it isn't. Listen to this one here. So here's a guy who posted my video up at his Facebook page, as you know, many people do. Obviously, hundreds of thousands. So listen to this. I think this is a flawed philosophical claim to make. Guy responding to the web his page, his Facebook page. As a child in Judeo-Christian faith, you're taught that you will burn in hell for sinning, not following the rules of God, or many other ways they indoctrinate behavior. Being moral as a Christian is complying to a set of rules for which you are given a reward at the end of life. I would make the argument that morals validated only through religious dogma. This is the line I want you to hear. I would argue that make the argument that morals validated only through religious dogma are less authentic than morals validated on personal discovery, reflection, and implementation. Isn't that amazing? One of the consequences of the death of God is a true narcissism. My personal discovery, reflection, and implementation was a better source of morality than the Ten Commandments. Mind-boggling. That he must have gone to college. That's always what I can say. Okay, let's move on here. And let's go to Tampa, Florida, and George. Hi, George of Tampa.
Hey, Dennis, how's it going? Love your show.
Thank you.
My argument is murder, by definition, is wrong because that's how we differentiate murder from killing. Murder is unjustifiable killing. What we consider killing is justifiable, self-defense. And that's why in every culture, whether they believe in your God or not, they differentiate between an unjustifiable killing and a justifiable killing.
That was true. Of course, that was true for Hitler too.
Yes.
Okay, because you could justifiably kill a Jew.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, but
I don't think we need a God in order to, because
you need a God to make murder objectively wrong, and you need a God to explain that you can't murder the innocent.
No, because it ultimately has to be, every act of killing has to be individually assessed.
Correct.
And your Bible does not individually assess every.
Well, you're right, in the sense that God would have to come in every case, but He gives us guidelines that cover about 98% of the time.
No, but who determines those guidelines and who assesses each act?
Well, that's why I said, okay, everything you say is correct, but it has nothing to do with my argument that if there is no God, I'll add a word here, no killing is wrong. It's all opinion. You're acknowledging that. Society is now substituting for God. Society tells you which killing is murder, and therefore society is the new substitute.
That's correct. That's correct, and it has to be that way because conditions change. For instance...
Wait. Okay, that's all fine. I know what you're saying, and I agree almost entirely. That's why I tell religious people never say that something is always wrong. You can't say killing is always wrong. There's moral killing and immoral killing. God recognizes that just as much as you and I recognize that. But there's no such thing as objectively wrong killing if there is no God.
But even in your religion, there's no.
No. In my religion, okay. Let me answer that. This is a very important question you pose. No, this is how the answer is. I may not know in every single instance what God's will is, but I know that in every single instance there is a God's will. That's the difference. Without God coming down and saying to me, you may kill this soldier on the other army, but you can't kill this soldier, I understand. But it's true, a religious person wrestles with what is God's will in every individual case. But at least we know that there is a God's will, and therefore there is a right and a wrong. Without God, it is only opinion. That's the difference, and it's all the difference in the world. We'll be back in a moment. I'm Dennis Prager. This is the Ultimate Issues Hour. Oh, it's so interesting to read the reactions. It fascinates me. It's a true insight into the way people think unclearly. Not because I differ with them. I could agree or disagree. But you got to have clear thinking. All right, last segment of this edition of the Ultimate Issues Hour. It is on the latest PragerU video, which I happen to be giving. Most of the Prager University videos I do not give. This one I do, and it is if there is no God, murder isn't wrong, which every atheist philosopher has agreed to that I've ever read, because there's no other position. Morality is a matter of opinion. Here's an example of a comment on YouTube. Okay, it's YouTube. So what if morality is an opinion? Most humans have similar opinions. Does he not know how many people were murdered last century? This century. Most people have similar. Yeah, how about this? Yeah, about this century. Most people have similar opinions. Amazing how much they have acted against their own opinions. Wow. Here's another one. I think I have an idea that he's not going to agree with me from his name. Global Solidarity. That's the guy's name. Sometimes PragerU has good videos. This is not one of them. The world isn't good and bad. It's not black and white. Did I say the world is black and white? But you have been taught, you understand, it's a half a century of indoctrination at school that God is irrelevant to morality. Folks, we're undoing the bases of Western civilization. Even if you agree with undoing them, you have to be honest. All right, let's see here. Quick summary. Max in Walla Walla, Washington. The vitriol is coming from a misunderstanding of who God is. I think it's a misunderstanding of logic even more than that, but I'm sure you're right. Eldon, I'm a former in Sarasota, Florida. I'm a former chaplain. I used to ask students if they believe they have a soul. That would be interesting. That's a good question. And Owen and Dave and James and Steve, forgive me for not getting to your calls. Please watch the video. Please show them to a child or a grandchild or a nephew or a niece. But you got to talk it over, and you have to learn the arguments. They're not hard. They're not hard. Just don't get sidetracked. You're not arguing that there is a God or you got to listen to the Bible. Just a very simple premise. If there is no God, murder isn't wrong. I'm Dennis Prager.